Rangers, Juggernauts, Railgunners, and Medics. These four towers used to dominate the landscape of TDX, back when everything was simple, back when everything was still managed by experts. But everything changed when the nightmares appeared. And now, under the brink of destruction, the GDA can only call upon their four finest in order to finish the fight. And this, guys, is Nightmare Mode. Boy oh boy, has this been in the works for a while. Nightmare Mode, the most hyped, most anticipated, most nightmarish update that the game could ever conceive, has finally arrived in the game. With 2 iterations of Nightmare, which funny enough I did predict in some Discord messages, 4 new overpowered towers with a 5th that is still on the way, and a whole bunch of lore to dissect, I am here today to go over this update briefly, but mostly talk about where do we go from here. So what makes Nightmare Mode so special? Well, for starters, we have obtained 4 new towers that have been widely anticipated by the community, 3 of them specifically. Those being Refractor, Behemoth, War Machine, and the Shield Tower. Now, I don't believe I need to elaborate too much on the first 3 towers, due to the fact that we've seen them everywhere and you've likely learned how powerful they really are, and how fun it is to just cheese the entire game with them. I will give my compliments to the Shield Tower for being the actual best tower in the game, due to the fact that it carries you through literally any mode. John, please don't nerf it. But what I'm really here to talk about is the mode itself. It has introduced over 30 new enemies to the game, each with their unique looks, characteristics, and the fact that they all have abilities which can definitely pose a problem to your army. We've also learned something very important from the lore. It's the fact that Calamity and Void energy can be fused in order to create an entirely new type of energy to be used in battle. On our end, it's under the Refractor, our strongest DPS tower in the game, which fuses the 2 energies in his amazing laser beam. And from our enemy side, we've got Dr. Xenon's greatest creation that is able to harness the powers of both Calamity and the Void alike. But more on that later. Now, in Nightmare Mode, this is supposedly our final battle against Dr. Xenon and her final vestiges of her army, including her strongest units yet. Namely, here, Dr. Xenon has proven that she has overcome the flaws of her past and is able to resolve the infamous core overheating issue, demonstrated for enemies like the Lurches, and more specifically, the Alpha Predator. Now, the Alpha Predator is namely the final Predator variant, according to John, and thus it underlines this feeling of finality due to the fact that instead of the big guy exploding, he revives himself by absorbing his own core after pulling it out. That was genuinely a jump scare to witness the first time. But aside from that cool setback, there is also the Emperor. What can I even say about him? This is hands down one of the coolest bosses I have encountered in a game period. Not just a Roblox game, not just a tower defense game, any game period. The amount of effort that has gone into this guy is genuinely baffling, and I have nothing but positive things to say about him. However, everybody has already gone over what makes the Emperor so awesome, so I just hope that you enjoyed that little montage I have of him. Besides me having to glaze the mode and the Emperor himself, there is something that I desperately need to go over, and that is the game's hidden wave. Following in the footsteps of another popular tower defense game, TDX has implemented their very own hidden wave within Nightmare. It is triggered on the finality map by completing a puzzle right after the Emperor self-destructs. And there we get to see an invasion of the Calamity much greater than anything we've witnessed before. We even get to meet a custom boss called the Dark Presence. And above all, we get to meet Nemesis, aka Dr. Mallory, aka the Bunny Lover, aka the Goddess of Vengeance. This is something that we have been wanting ever since we were introduced to her for a bunch of lore leaks and implications, and now that we finally get to fight her, we also get to learn what happened to her, which, let me tell you, I won't spoil a thing, but this is the best storytelling I've ever seen in a Roblox game, and I definitely recommend you guys either find out for yourself or get spoiled from somebody else, because it won't be me that ruins the experience for you. Why am I bringing Hidden Wave up? Well, besides being a very cool lore explanation and answering some questions about Dr. Mallory, it also drives into the future of TDX. We have witnessed the true extent of the power that Calamity Energy can carry, especially if it is refined by Xenon in the ways in which you infused it with the Emperor. We can see that the energy in such quantities is strong enough that in another reality, it shattered the moon over in space, as well as destabilized the entire freaking cosmic balance in order to summon Calamity into our world. This is what leads into the events of Shattered Moon, the 2025 Halloween mode for TDX. Basically, Shattered Moon is a non-canon, unfortunately, sequel to Hidden Wave, where it's the what if we failed to defend against Hidden Wave, in the scenario that the Calamity were able to escape our grasp and ravage the world. Well, in that scenario, everybody's pretty much screwed. Like, yeah, Advisor outright tells us that most of the world is in ruins, and that the map that we're on is the last vestige of civilization that we could salvage, which is not great, to say the least. Despite the criticism that a lot of people share about this mode, myself included, it is no denying that it shows the true extent of what Calamity Energy is capable of. And moreover, this presents some very interesting prospects for the future, especially if we take into account the prophecy on the finality map that is a hint to the Hidden Wave itself. So far we have defeated one of the 4 bosses outlined in that prophecy, and there are still 3 more to go over, those being the General, the Duchess, and the Hellborn. And apparently, John has very big plans for where the story is supposed to go, and I myself am very interested in how he's gonna take it from here, considering that this is technically the last we've seen of Dr. Xenon. For now anyways. Now, diverting away from the Calamity a little bit, there are still some missing plot elements that need to be addressed. Most of them are not exactly missing, but there are still some very important aspects that need to be considered when we delve further into the TDX lore. Nightmare Mode has added a variety of maps, each having their own small stories. There is Pacifica Ruin, which is a ruined GDA base somewhere in the outskirts of the city, Supremacy Prime, which I assume is our capital city, Castellan Reach, which was a base taken over by the Awakened and supposedly owned by the same kingdom as the King and Queen from Elite, and Finality, which we've gone over. But one map that I desperately need to point out is Gun Facility. Gun Facility is the housing spot of the GDA's ultimate asset, the GDA Ultimate Neutralizer, pun not intended, otherwise known as the Gun. A titanic, gargantuan mech with a gun that I'm pretty sure would be able to shoot anything out of orbit. However, it's not just the colossal mech that makes this map interesting, it's all of the little lore details that the developer decided to hide around here. such as some shady documents from Forge Industries, which you can see more in depth in this video, as well as this one piece of paper that I really want to go over. It's referring to the acquisition of a corporation named Milcorp, where Forge Industries decided to use the parameters of a contract they have with the GDA in order to acquire one of their smaller companies, which previously used to be independent. Milcorp has been supplying the enemy with parts and machines in order to further its profits, and they are bringing them down and acquiring everything they own due to the fact that they associated themselves with persons of interest and cults. Does that sound familiar to anybody? In any case, this pretty much confirms that Forge and anything that is part of them has had associations with our enemies, and now they're desperately trying to sweep it under the rug, which would explain why so many enemies that we see on Dr. Xenon's side carry the Forge Industries logo. These guys are not really on our side, they're just doing this for the profit, like any multi-billion dollar war contracting raging corporation would do. So I appreciate TDX for this extra smidge of edginess. And more on Forge later, because they are becoming increasingly more important into the lore. Shifting back a little to Dr. Xenon, we finally got a few answers as to why she has become our number one enemy, mostly from the leaks provided by the GJ explaining how the more you study Calamity language, the more it can corrupt your mind Lovecraftian style. And if the linguistics department in the GDA is anything to go by, then I would say we have a surface level explanation as to why she has gone insane. However, there is still one side of this story that we have not managed to fully understand, and that is who is the him character. For those who don't know, back in 2024 during the Christmas event, Dr. Xenon mentions during a cutscene that she could have saved him. Now, this a lot of debate in the community as to who him could be. Could it be Advisor? Could it be Commander Flynn? Could it be Dr. J from Tower Battles? Nobody knew, but whoever he was, it was clearly somebody important to Xenon who either got the Mallory treatment, so to speak, or he died during the Void's invasion and Xenon was not allowed to resurrect him because of unethical issues. We still need to figure out who he is in order to understand what drove Xenon to betray us and start helping all of our enemies before attacking us herself. When I mention the Mallory treatment, I don't necessarily mean her getting isekai'd into Calamity's world, I mean what happened afterwards, because John made it very clear that Mallory did not instantly turn into Nemesis. It was a long process that we have no proper way to understand or view, but there are artworks from one Mr. P that outline what it could have potentially looked like, and that provides insight as to how enemies like the Vile Seraphs and the Redacted clones that the Calamity summon are made, which would explain why Xenon wants us weakened so the Emperor can summon her over. It's so that, as Rogue Ordinary says, she could kill two birds with one stone. Deal with her mistakes of the past and with her enemies of the present. This seems to really wrap the lore nicely in a bow tie, except that now we've got a winter event coming along. And with all of the new stuff that it presents man versus machine style, I think it's time to look over at what could be next for the TDX lore. Where do we go from overcoming an invasion of hell right onto our world? I believe that the answer is actually right in front of us. In the Nightmare lobby, there is a document hidden on a platform talking about the GDA and Forge Industries shooting down an Emperor-class Eradicator a long time ago and attempting to reverse engineer its AI for the benefits of humanity. Now, this might seem like an off little detail, which was frankly included so that the previous Emperor model could be integrated into the lore, but in reality, this can be tied together with G.U.N. Now, why am I mentioning this? It's because if you look over at the Forge documents regarding G.U.N on G.U.N facility, you'll notice that testing on G.U.N had to be suspended due to radiation leaks, but also the fact that there are problems on the neural interface between the pilots and the artificial intelligence within G.U.N. I think you're starting to see where I'm going with this. It is my personal theory that the GDA and Forge Industries have harnessed the Emperor's AI, or the Beta Emperor in this case, and are trying to implement it into G.U.N so that they can more easily control it and make it be more capable than it already is. However, there clearly are issues with this, as I don't think an AI developed by Xenon is likely to help the GDA in their endeavors. What's worse is that it seems that G.U.N is activated during our battle in case we play on that map, which signifies that maybe the AI isn't as dormant as we suspected it to be. Now, why am I bringing all of this up? Well, I want you to focus really closely on G.U.N's eyes while he is awake. They are glowing a bright yellow and always looking at the player. And now I want you to turn your attention to this little teaser of an enemy from the Christmas event. Notice it? It's the exact same yellow, cold eyes that constantly stare at the player. Well, maybe not in the little enemy's case, but it's right there. So if you've already guessed where I'm going with this, it's that Forge Industries is attempting to weaponize this AI that we've taken from Dr. Xenon and implementing it into a brand new defense force that no longer requires us to sacrifice our people, our towers, on the battlefield. However, during this event, these guys are obviously against us, man versus machine style, so it's clear that the AI is rebelling against us. Whether it's doing it out of its own self-awareness or the fact that someone has rigged it against us is still unknown and will likely be up to debate during the event itself. However, I want to put emphasis on the someone because there has been this one little element I've been omitting. This one little loose end which has been haunting us even longer than whoever he is. And that is the traitor.
There's a traitor among you. How long until you realize who it is?
The traitor has only been mentioned once in the lore, and it is only during the defeat screen whenever you lose one of the Halloween 2024 chapters in-game. The wretched taunts you that there is a traitor hiding among the GDA, and that we still haven't figured out who it is. I'm not sure how related this can be to the rogue AI that is possibly possessing G.U.N and the Forge robots. However, after the recent teaser image of this guy wearing a Forge jacket with ominous red shades, I want to believe that we might start getting answers about the one hiding and betraying behind our ranks. Some people have said that this guy may be the CEO of Forge Industries, or that he just may be the next villain of the game, which, like, sure, I can see both of these working with how ominous he looks. However, it is equally possible that he himself is the traitor. The guy that is working behind the scenes, corrupted by the cause of the calamity, and who is trying to bring forth our end. And what better way to do it than turning this heavily weaponized AI against us and using it as a diversion for something bigger in the future. Like potentially activating G.U.N and, you know, turning it on a rampage against the world, or summoning his new lords and saviors, the calamity entities, over the other three guys that I mentioned earlier. Who knows? We're gonna find out soon. But honestly, this is one way I see it going. Now, what do I personally hope from the future of TDX? Gameplay-wise, I just want a little more refresh and reworks. You know, for the core modes, for older towers, they really need to address the older stuff so that the beginners and intermediate players have a smoother experience. But in terms of lore, I really just want them to tie all of the loose ends together, so that we finally understand what caused Xenon to betray us, get an insight as to why the GDA is so shady, as Dr. Xenon keeps claiming, and eventually get ourselves a new villain. That being in the traitor, or the calamity, or the AI, or all of them at once, or anything, because for now Dr. Xenon has been put out of action. We didn't manage to capture or kill her, but she has depleted all of her valuable assets, and she is pretty much no longer a threat to us, at least for the time being. There's also the yellow symbol, and this ominous leak saying that they are watching. And this seems to be a bit of a reference to Cthulhu, mostly because they refer to the yellow symbol as from the abyss, and the guy in this image is clearly a squid. And I really want to see this yellow faction put into use, especially with what John said during the Salt's interview, that water towers, we better watch out for the future of them. What better way to introduce a massive water overhaul than introducing a Lovecraftian water faction that we need to fight off? That would just be freaking awesome, and there's nothing to lose out of it, right? At least that's just what I hope. I trust that the TDX developers and writers know what they're doing, and it is clear that at the very least we are heading into a direction similar to this. I can only hope that 2026 will be a good year for TDX, and that we can finally rest knowing that our questions will be answered, and that we'll see brand new themes being explored in the future where the game develops above and beyond what we were expecting. But what do you guys think? Do you think that I'm overhyping this a little? Do you think I've glazed Nightmare too much, not enough? Or is there anything I've missed or misinterpreted? I really want to hear what you guys think, because it's the community discussions that really spur forth theories like this. But anyways, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, because it was a lot of fun for me to work on, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good one!